There is an enigma that has spanned centuries and still sparks questions to this day. Who was Abraham, really? Recognized as the central patriarch of the Israelite people and several Arab nations, his origins remain shrouded in mystery and uncertainty. If Abraham was not an Israelite, since Israel did not yet exist, and he was not Jewish either, what exactly was he? Could he then be considered Hebrew? The term Hebrew refers to those who crossed the Great River, alluding to migration from ancient Mesopotamia. But is this explanation enough to truly understand his identity? The big question that few dare to investigate is, where exactly did Abraham come from? What was his homeland, his culture, and his true origin? In this exploration, we will dive into historical documents, sacred texts, and archaeological evidence to uncover the truth behind the figure of Abraham. Get ready for a fascinating journey. Abraham is undoubtedly one of the most enigmatic figures in ancient history. Known as the supreme patriarch of the Abrahamic peoples, he left a legacy that resonates through the centuries, influencing not only Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, but also a vast network of lineages that few explore. Traditional records tell us that Abraham was the direct ancestor of the Israelites through his son Isaac and the Ishmaelites, descendants of Ishmael, who later gave rise to the 12 Arab tribes. However, what many overlook is that his descendants were even more extensive, encompassing other groups whose histories have gradually been relegated to the shadows. Among them were the Edomites, whose royal blood also flowed through Abraham's veins. Furthermore, there is a connection often forgotten with the Midianites, a mysterious people whose role in antiquity still raises many questions. This branch of Abraham's descendants came through his son Midian, a name rarely given the attention it deserves in traditional accounts. While most believe that Abraham had only 2 sons, Isaac and Ishmael, ancient records indicate that he was actually the father of at least 8 sons. Here lies one of the most overlooked aspects of his story. After Isaac, Abraham married a woman named Keturah, whose name, translated from Aramaic, means promised. Who was Keturah? Evidence suggests she may have been of Hebrew or Aramaic origin, a woman of crucial importance in the continuation of Abraham's legacy. With Keturah, Abraham had 6 more children, including Midian, whose name would echo through the centuries. His descendants did not stop there. Through Ishmael, the firstborn he had with Hagar, Abraham became the grandfather of 13 grandchildren, each leaving their mark on the world. Among them was Basemath, who would later become one of Esau's wives, weaving unexpected ties between distinct lineages. On the other hand, Isaac's descendants followed an equally notable path. As a grandfather, Abraham witnessed the birth of twins, Esau and Jacob, whose destinies diverged drastically. Jacob expanded the patriarch's family tree, having 13 children who would later form the 12 tribes of Israel. Esau, in turn, forged his own path, and his descendants shaped territories and nations, leaving a legacy that echoed throughout Middle Eastern history. In recent times, Abraham's origin has been the subject of debate and questioning due to a lack of deeper historical knowledge. Many still identify him as a Hebrew or even a Jew. However, this classification does not correspond to historical facts. Abraham was neither a Jew nor a Hebrew in the ethnic sense we understand today. The title Hebrew was attributed to him because of his migration, when he crossed the Great River from the lands of ancient Mesopotamia. The word Hebrew originates from the term Ivri, meaning one who crosses or traveler. This name directly refers to Abraham's journey when he crossed the mighty Tigris and Euphrates rivers, leaving the city of Ur in search of the Promised Land. During his passage through Egypt, Abraham was identified by the Egyptians as a Hyksos. This term did not refer to a specific people, but rather to a broader category of foreign inhabitants who settled in Egypt. The Hyksos were mostly Semitic peoples from the pastoral lands of the East, encompassing Aramean, Akkadian, and Assyrian tribes from the Levant and Mesopotamia. To the Egyptians of the time, Abraham was not just a traveler, but part of a long tradition of migratory peoples who challenged borders and mingled with great civilizations. Specifically, Abraham may have been identified within the subgroup of the Hyksos, known as the Shasu. The Shasu were nomadic tribes from the Middle East, possibly from the area of present-day Iraq. Some researchers suggest that even in Ur of the Chaldees, the Akkadians might have referred to him as Shutu, a term used to describe various Semitic peoples, including the Arameans. Moreover, there is a line of study suggesting that both in Egypt and Canaan, Abraham could have been called Habiru or Apiru. These designations appear in several ancient sources, especially in cuneiform texts from Mesopotamia and Egyptian inscriptions. Contrary to what one might think, the Habiru did not represent a specific ethnic group, but rather a social class composed of migrants, outsiders, and people often on the margins of traditional power structures. These groups frequently acted as itinerant workers, mercenaries, or small clan leaders. Depending on the perspective, Abraham could have been seen as a Shasu, a Shutu, or a Habiru, terms that all carry a similar essential meaning: a foreigner from the east, a relentless traveler, a clan leader crossing lands and borders. The Habiru are mentioned in various inscriptions from the 2nd millennium BCE, appearing in different contexts and often marginalized within societies. Ancient accounts describe them as manual laborers, mercenaries, and even outlaws or rebels, frequently living on the fringes of established social structures. However, it is crucial to distinguish the Habiru from the Hebrews. While Hebrew means one who crossed the river, a reference to Abraham's Mesopotamian origins, the term Habiru had a more pejorative meaning, potentially interpreted as outlaws, slaves, archers, mercenaries, or immigrant workers. The history of the Habiru remains a mystery, shrouded in fragments of evidence, but their presence and influence are undeniable. Abraham's identity is far more complex than commonly assumed. Was he a Hebrew, a Hyksos, a Shasu, or something else entirely? The historical, linguistic, and archaeological evidence suggests that he was a figure who transcended labels, an ancient traveler whose influence shaped the course of history. Whether viewed as the father of nations, a nomadic leader, or a man who crossed borders in search of divine promise, Abraham remains one of the most captivating enigmas of the ancient world.